Good evening and welcome to Thursday, April 17th, 2025. Time is 5:20 p.m. Regular Planning Commission meeting. The meeting will now come to order. Tonight's invocation will be given by Ms. Carrillo, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Ms. Mosayev.
Dear Lord, we thank you for the ability to come before you with this commission. We invite you to be here with us this evening and to grant us wisdom with each case and situation that is presented before us tonight. In your name we pray.
Please rise and face the flag. Place your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioners, please announce any item you are recusing from due to a conflict of interest prior to the item being heard. Secretary, will you please call the roll of the Planning Commission?
Commissioner Boado,
Present.
Commissioner Monroy, Commissioner Preciado,
Present.
Vice Chairperson Barrera,
Present.
Chairperson Ramirez.
Present. We will now begin with item number 5.1 on the agenda. The item has been continued from March 19, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. At this time, we will reopen the public hearing at 5:22. May we please have the staff's report, please? Ms. Mosayev.
I can't. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, staff, and public. There we go. For the record, my name is Mona Mosayev, Acting City Planner with the Bell Gardens Planning Division, and this presentation is to discuss the Conditional Use Permit and Development Agreement 2024-015 as it relates to the City and Department of Cannabis Control storefront retail license request at 6300 Gage Avenue. If you recall, this item was continued from February 19th and March 19th, where you provided staff with some direction, and I will in detail present in my presentation. It is staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission determine that the conditional use permit number 2024-015 and ordinance number 953 for development agreement number 2024-015 are categorically exempt from CEQA pursuant state guidelines. Adopt Resolution PC 2025-04 approving CUP number 2024-015 to authorize a cannabis retail storefront and tenant improvements to a 1,512 square foot suite at an existing 2,572 square foot commercial building, and to authorize, subject to conditions of approval, this business located at 6300 Gage Avenue. And third, adopt Resolution PC 2025-05 authorizing to the City Council to adopt recommending to the City Council to adopt an ordinance authorizing the City of Bell Gardens to enter into and execute a development agreement by and between the City, Bell Gardens ZG Associates, LLC, and the Rodriguez Family Trust to permit this cannabis business for a 5-year term with an option to extend for an additional 5 years for a total of 10-year term in exchange for community benefits. Or to adopt Resolution PC 2025-09 denying conditional use permit 2024-015 to permit a cannabis retail use and associated tenant improvements at this location. Brief background. Alejandro Calleras, representing Bell Gardens EG Associates, is requesting the approval of the CUP to allow a cannabis retail use and proposed tenant improvements at the location. On February 19th, 2025, the Planning Commission held a duly noticed public hearing and reviewed all facts and evidence, both written and verbal, pertaining to the CUP. After receiving public testimony and closing the public hearing, Planning Commission deliberated and determined that the project does not meet the required findings pursuant Bell Gardens Municipal Code Section 9.50.050. On March 19th, 2025, the Planning Commission held a duly noticed public hearing and reviewed all facts and evidence, both written and verbal, pertaining to the CUP. During the public hearing, the applicant offered modifications to the project, including a modification to the hours of operation, additional security during weekday afternoons, and security personnel when the store is not open. Additionally, the applicant offered community benefits in the form of funding to the city's youth sports programming and to subsidize the cost of youth programming at the city's aquatic center. After receiving public testimony and closing the public hearing, the Planning Commission requested revisions to the conditions of approval and development agreement. In addition to the annual, my apologies. Condition number 23 has been revised to show the hours of retail operation at the subject site and shall be restricted from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday through Sundays, with the last delivery at 8 p.m. Condition number 32, applicant shall provide one dedicated security personnel on site 24/7 with one designated manager on site as well. Condition number 39, applicant shall provide a second security personnel on site for the purpose of patrolling the exterior subject site Monday through Fridays between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. In addition to the annual community benefits of $100,000 and quarterly community benefit equal to 7% of gross receipts, the applicant has offered 3 additional annual community benefits that have been incorporated into the development agreement. $25,000 annual contribution for academic scholarship for Bell Gardens High School graduates, $8,000 annual contribution to sponsor or subsidize the cost of youth sports activities or a team, and $6,000 annual contribution to the Bell Gardens Aquatic Center to subsidize the cost of swimming lessons or similar programming for Bell Gardens youth. The applicant would be required to renew these benefits by January 15th of every year, and the mechanisms of distribution to be determined by the city to ensure their equitable distribution. At the March 24th, 2025 City Council meeting, the City Council directed staff that future cannabis CUP applications with a development agreement request be executed within 60 days of the effective date of the ordinance adopting the DA. Therefore, the Planning Commission may consider adding this provision to the effectuating ordinance when making a recommendation to the City Council to approve ordinance number 953. It is staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission determine that the conditional use permit and ordinance number 953 and development agreement number 2024-015 are categorically exempt from CEQA. Adopt resolution 2025-04 approving the CUP to authorize a cannabis retail use storefront and tenant improvements. And adopt resolution 2025-05 recommending to City Council to adopt an ordinance authorizing the City of Bell Gardens to enter and execute a development agreement by and between the City, Bell Gardens EG Associates LLC, and the Rodriguez Family Trust. Or to adopt resolution PC 2025-09 denying the CUP 2024-015 to essentially not permit a cannabis retail use at the site. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff, city attorney, and applicants are present and open to questions. Thank you.
If I may, Chair. Lloyd Pilchin, City Attorney's Office. Let the record show that Commissioner Monroy arrived, joined the meeting at 5:25 p.m. Thank you. You already reopened the public meeting.
Oh, sorry about that. At this time, if the applicant would like to come to the podium to address the planning commission, they may do so. No? They're online? Oh, I don't know. Secretary, is the applicant potentially online?
No, Commissioner, I do not see them online.
We'll move on. We will now move to the commissioner's questions or comments. Does any commissioner have any questions or comments? We will now reopen the public comments for this item. Secretary, please announce the instructions for public participation.
The members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on the public hearing item number 5.1. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the members of the Planning Commission. Each speaker and comments are limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone. When instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through the Zoom app may request to make a comment by using raise hand feature on Zoom and select unmute or the microphone icon when instructed. We will begin to hear from the members of the public that are physically present in the council chamber. If you haven't done so already, please submit all comment cards now. Chairperson, it looks like there is no one in the council chambers that wants to speak on this item. I will go ahead and see if there is anyone on the chat line that would like to speak on this item. If there is anyone on the chat line, go ahead and press *6 to unmute yourself if you would like to speak on this item. Chairperson, it looks like we do not have anyone on the chat line who wants to speak on this item, and for the record, no written comments were submitted.
Thank you very much. If there's no objections by the Planning Commission, I will close public participation. Commissioners, any questions or comments at this time?
I just have one question. So I see on here, we finally have the amounts set. So my question back to security, I think in the presentation it stated how many security guards it would have after hours. I just kind of missed that. I apologize.
For the record, Mona Mosaib, there will be one security 24/7. Correct.
Thank you.
And 2 security from 1 to 5, Monday
Thank you.
through Friday.
If there's no additional questions or comments by the Planning Commission, I will close public hearing at 5:34 p.m.
Chairperson Ramirez.
Yes?
Paloma McAvoy with the City Attorney's Office. If I could just make highlight one point that Ms. Mosaib made, and that was that in a previous City Council meeting, we received direction, staff received direction for all incoming DAs or cannabis projects to include a provision that requires the applicant to effectuate the agreement within 60 days of the effective date. That direction was given to you after you first saw this ordinance, but before today. And so it may be something you may want to consider adding into the ordinance so that when it goes to the City Council, that language is already in there for the City Council's consideration.
Okay, can we just add this? now when we go to motion to approve?
Correct. So in order to do that, when you move to adopt staff's recommendations, I would also recommend that you include a direction for the developer to effectuate the development agreement within 60 days of the effective date of the ordinance. And I can read in the exact language into the record.
That would be helpful, thank you. May I have a motion to move forward with staff's recommendations for actions 1 through 3, as noted in staff's report and presentation?
I motion to move forward.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Finance Secretary, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
So
Oh,
this would
I
be the
apologize.
time.
This would be the time, my apologies.
The motion to include Ms. McAvoy's language.
Can we please, do I have to have the person who motioned originally? Or we just include it?
Oh, so I'm also motion to include the language that Ms. McAvoy mentioned earlier or stated.
Thank you. And for the record, there'll be an extra section added in as section 4. All other sections will be accordingly revised numerically. The applicant shall cause the development agreement to be effectuated by providing notarized signatures, proof of insurance, and public benefits as required by the terms of the development agreement within 60 days of the effective date of the ordinance.
Perfect, thank you. May I have a second?
I'll go ahead and second.
Thank you. Finance Secretary, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Commissioner Boado,
Yes.
Commissioner Monroy,
Yes.
Commissioner Preciado,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Barrera,
Yes.
Chairperson Ramirez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We will now begin with item number 5.2 on the agenda. At this time, I will open public hearing at 5:37 p.m. May we have the staff's report, please, Ms. Mosayev?
Thank you. Good evening again, Chair, Commissioners, staff, and public. For the record, my name is Mona Mosayev, Acting City Planner with the City of Bell Gardens Planning Division. This presentation is to discuss the conditional use permit number 2024-066 as it relates to a proposed banquet facility with valet service at 6730 Florence Avenue. The applicant, Eleazar and Alexandria Felix, are requesting that the Planning Commission determine the project is categorically exempt based on the common sense category from the provisions of CEQA, and approve conditional use permit authorizing a new banquet facility use with valet parking at 6730 Florence Avenue. The site is located at 6730 Florence Avenue. It is zoned M1, which is light industrial, and has a land use designation of industrial. The subject site is 27,109 square feet in size, with industrial uses in the M1 zone to the north, east, and west of the subject site. To the south of the subject site, there is a zone commercial services and professional with a senior residential living facility. The subject site is currently developed with a 2-story, 13,698 square foot commercial building and a parking lot with 36 existing parking spaces. The business, VIP Real Estate, currently utilizes the existing commercial building for their professional office business operations. The proposed banquet facility would exist in conjunction with the professional office business and operate during the office's closed hours. The subject site is currently developed with a total of 36 off-street vehicular parking. The project would include new improvements to the parking space layout, consisting of 2 off-street ADA compliant spaces, and 12 electric vehicle charging capable spaces, 2 bike racks to serve a total of 2 bicycles, and new loading zone. New trash enclosure is also included. The applicant is proposing valet services to utilize their parking lot to its full potential and prevent the misuse of the parking lot by guests. Access to the site can be found through 2 existing egress and ingress accessways via Scout Avenue. Entrance to the parking lot with valet services would be accessed off the North Scout Avenue entrance. The applicant proposes to operate a banquet facility within the 13,698 square foot commercial building, however, utilizing approximately 2,399 square foot of that area. The first floor area would consist of a 1,300 square foot dance floor and 308 square foot bar area, and 1 male and 1 female restroom. The remaining square footage of the commercial building, consisting of the offices and meeting rooms, would be blocked off and screened with decorative materials that would not be utilized during the banquet facility events. The second floor area would consist of a 791 square foot area that would be utilized for dining purposes. The applicant's CUP request is consistent with the City of Bell Gardens General Plan, Land Use Policy Number 4, and Land Use Policy Number 5. Staff's analysis shows that the proposed banquet facility with valet services is consistent with the development standards contained in the Bell Gardens Municipal Code, Chapter 9.14, Industrial Zones, and the project meets the requirements of Section 9.50.050 of the Bell Gardens Municipal Code, basis for approval or denial of a conditional use permit. The project is consistent with the Bell Gardens General Plan. It is staff's recommendation that the project be deemed exempt from CEQA and recommends approval of the conditional use permit, authorizing a new banquet facility use with valet service at 6730 Florence Avenue. I believe the applicant is present this evening and would like to share a prepared presentation during the public hearing testimony. Staff, city attorney, and applicant are open to questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. At this time, if the applicant would like to come to the podium to address the Planning Commission, they may do so.
Good evening. On behalf of the owner, Eleazar Felix, Pedro Aceituno, we're just here to see if you have any questions for us, and we're prepared to address any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move to commissioner questions or comments. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments at this time?
Yeah, I do. I have 2 questions. For right now, the hours of operation, and also 12 EV spaces, are those going to be for the community or only for those that will be using the facilities?
The hours of operation will be from 4 to 12. And in regards to the EV, that would be for the folks that are utilizing the facility for the evening.
Yeah.
I also do have a question. I was wondering, given the proximity to a senior citizens residential building, if there are any concerns regarding the noise level that, you know, those who do occupy the space can reach?
Good evening, and thank you for giving us this time. We've considered that, and that's the reason we decided to do valet, so that there is no one in the back or the rear of the building, which is closer to the senior housing. If everybody parks in the front and there's nobody allowed in the back, that there definitely shouldn't be any noise back there. That was the reason we came up, because if you do the valet, you're able to enter through the front of the building, and you don't have to exit our property. You can go to the back, and then there'd be no one in the back. There'd be no noise back there. The building, we've ran a sound test to see if you can hear anything outside. If we would have, say, live music or a DJ, and you can't hear the music outside, so we wouldn't be bothering. And we've considered that. That was, we also, we understand who lives back there.
Thank you.
Given the site's reliance on valet parking to fully utilize 36 spaces, what contingency plans are in place if valet operations either fail or prove inadequate, particularly during peak events exceeding more than 100 guests?
If that becomes an issue, we have some, we've been having some discussions with some of the neighbors that have some opportunities for parking space, so we're considering those things in case they're needed.
So the neighbors,
There's other businesses in the area
okay.
that don't operate after hours, so we're in discussions with them to potentially agree to utilize some of their parking space after hours if that was a need that we would need to use.
Potentially, so it's not concrete
Correct.
yet. Okay.
Thank you for your questions, Commissioners. Any more questions or comments at this time? I just have a quick question regarding the EV chargers. I understand that you want to offer the amenity of having a charging station for your guests. Is there a reason that you don't think it appropriate to offer it to who are paying customers potentially during the the 2/3 of the day where there is nothing going on?
If you recall, during the day, it's still going to be operating as a business. So we do have folks and also clients that will be able to utilize it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. We will now open the public comment for this item. Secretary, please announce the instructions for public participation.
The members of the public now have an opportunity to speak on the public hearing item number 5.2. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the members of the Planning Commission. Each speaker and written comments are limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone. When instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom and select the unmute or the microphone icon when instructed. We will begin to hear from the members of the public that are physically present in the council chambers. If you haven't done so already, please submit all comment cards now. Chairperson, it looks like there is no one in the council chambers that wants to speak on this item. I will go ahead and see if there's anyone on the chat line that would like to speak on this item. If there is anyone on the chat line, go ahead and press *6 to unmute yourself if you would like to speak on this item. Chairperson, it looks like we do not have anyone on the chat line who wants to speak on this item, and for the record, no written comments were submitted.
Perfect. Thank you very much. If there are no objections by the Planning Commission, I will now close public participation.
I did have one question I forgot to ask regarding security.
exterior, have, anytime there's an event, definitely have somebody out there to make sure that, you know, everything's under control.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one security?
For the exterior, yes. Inside, you know, definitely one more. But exterior, what we are planning on, one valet parking would be out there, so there'd be some staff out there besides one security outside, and then one on the inside. It's we're not asking for the whole building, so it's it would be around less than 100 people that it would hold. It's not a giant event or anything like that.
Any additional comments or questions? If there are no additional questions or comments by the Planning Commission, I will close public hearing at 5:51 p.m. May I have a motion to approve staff's recommendations as noted in the staff report?
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with staff's recommendation.
I second that.
Thank you very much. Planning Secretary, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Commissioner Boado,
Yes.
Commissioner Monroy,
Yes.
Commissioner Preciado,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Barrera,
Yes.
Chairperson Ramirez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations. We will now begin with item number 5.3 on the agenda. At this time, I will open the public hearing at 5:52 p.m. May we have staff's report, please, Ms. Mosaev.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you, Chair, Commissioners, staff, and public. For the record, my name is Mona Mosaev, Acting City Planner with the Bell Gardens Planning Division. And this presentation is to discuss the Conditional Use Permit and Development Agreement 2023-073 as it relates to the City and the Department of Cannabis Control Storefront Retail License Request at 7821 Eastern Avenue. The applicant, Francisco Aguiar Jr., is requesting that the Planning Commission firstly determine that the project is category exempt from CEQA. Secondly, approve the conditional use permit authorizing a cannabis retail use in existing commercial structure at the subject site. And thirdly, recommend to the City Council approval of an ordinance to enter into and execute a development agreement with the applicant and property owner as prepared by staff to vest certain development rights for a 5-year term with the option to extend the DA for an additional 5 years for a total of 10 years in exchange for public benefits. The subject site is located at 7821 Eastern Avenue with an assessor parcel number denoted in the slide before you. The site is zoned mixed use and has a land use designation of mixed use. The subject site is 6,286 square feet with the following surrounded uses. To the north is mixed use commercial. To the west, it is also mixed use with residential use. To the south, mixed use commercial. And to the east, R3, residential and vacant. Current site conditions reflect a commercial structure that is prime for redevelopment. As denoted in a previous slide, the site is surrounded by mixed uses of commercial and residential uses, and shown in the images before you, the commercial uses to the north and south, residential to the west, with residential and vacant lots on Eastern Avenue across the street. Before you is a conceptual image of the site upon completion of the tenant improvement. The applicant proposes a 1,748 square foot commercial cannabis retail storefront. The retail area is 553 square feet, and the back end for staff access only is 1,195 square feet. Included in the back end space are the vaults, offices, staff restrooms, staff bake room. The applicant proposes improvements to the site that include the provision of 3 parking spaces, including 1 American with Disabilities Act parking space, 1 loading space, and 16 bicycle parking spaces and landscaping. The abundance of the bicycle spaces is in lieu of replacing vehicular parking space. Access to the site is via Eastern Avenue and an exit route through the alley. So they would enter in and then exit out. So it's a one-way directional. The proposed floor plan, the applicant proposes 1,748 square foot storefront. The retail area denoted in the green would be for the customers, and the back end space is denoted in the blue. If approved, operating standards and conditions of approval would address issues such as, but not limited to, maintenance of the subject site in a neat and orderly manner, debris and graffiti to be removed in a timely manner, prohibition of on-site consumption of cannabis and cannabis products, and at least 1 security guard during operating hours. Employees must be at least 21 years old. Patrons must be at least 21 years in age or 18 years with a medical recommendation. The applicant is requesting operating hours, and we are providing operating hours of 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. with the last delivery to be placed at 9 p.m. An added condition of approval is being proposed this evening, that the subject site and surrounding area shall be maintained, and any damaged or broken exterior lights on the subject site shall be replaced or repaired within 48 hours of being observed or reported, and this is consistent with the applicant's lighting plan. The proposed DA provisions. Excuse me. Staff and applicant have negotiated terms of the development agreement. Staff recommends approval of the DA within the reported materials and would provide an additional 5-year terms to the one approved for a total of 10 years. In return, the applicant would provide an annual community benefit in the amount of $100,000 per year, renewed every January. The applicant would be required to pay a quarterly community benefit equal to 7% of gross receipts once the store is in operation. At the March 24th, 2025 City Council meeting, the City Council directed staff that future cannabis CUP applications with development agreement requests be executed within 60 days of the effective date of the ordinance adopting the DA. This provision is included in the ordinance before you tonight. 80% of all community benefits would be dedicated towards the city's youth and educational programming for the city's and for the city's housing program. The Planning Commission may recommend that the City Council approve the DA as is, recommend approval but with different terms than the ones presented to you this evening, or recommend disapproval of the DA. Staff's analysis shows that the applicant's CUP request is consistent with the City of Bell Gardens General Plan, Land Use Policy 3, and Land Use Policy 5. As a part of its analysis, staff reviewed for consistency to the general plan and compliance with the Bell Gardens Municipal Code. The proposal before you today is consistent with the Bell Gardens Municipal Code Chapter 9.12, Commercial Zones, meets the requirements of Section 9.50.050, basis for approval and denial of a CUP, and consistent with the standards of Section 9.20.160 of the Bell Gardens Municipal Code, detailing cannabis retail CUPs. The recommendation before you this evening is requesting the Planning Commission to determine the project is categorically exempt from CEQA, approve a conditional use permit authorizing cannabis retail use, and recommend to City Council approval of an ordinance to enter into and execute a development agreement with the applicant and property owner as prepared by staff to vest certain development rights in exchange for 10 years of public benefits. The applicant is present this evening and would like to share a few words during the public hearing testimony. Staff, city attorney, and applicant are open to questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. At this time, if the applicant would like to come to the podium to address the Planning Commission, they may do so.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Aide Castro, and I'm here presenting with Curaleaf.
Hi, good evening. Frank Aguirre, the applicant. I believe we have a PowerPoint presentation that we want to start with.
Can we get that PowerPoint started, please?
Great. Okay, can we go to slide 2, please? Great. We are the team, which is encompassing of myself. I have at least 7 years of experience in the cannabis industry as general manager for other brands. Mr. Aguirre's expertise in retail, project management is also part of the team. We have a contractor that specializes in affordable housing and other retail spaces that will also be assisting us during this process. And of course, we plan to work with the most clean brands that are producing what we call safe and clean cannabis flower, so that we ensure that the residents or whoever is going to consume is consuming a product that is clean and has been tested and has passed, and ensure that there's no contaminants within the product that's being sold, which is a major concern for many people. Moving on to 3, please. So just a quick financial overview. We have a startup cost of $545,000, approximately, with a capitalization of $1 million allocated to the build-up and the startup. The timeline is fairly quick. We got the message loud and clear. We will very quickly sign the development agreement before the 60-day period, and just be operational within 9 months after receiving the California State Department of Cannabis Control license as required. Slide 4, please. Our hours of operation will be Monday through Sunday from 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Our last delivery order will be by 9 p.m. The vehicle will return no later than 10 p.m. back to the premises. There will be strict security protocols. No one under the age of 21 will be allowed on premises unless they can provide a medical authorization at the age of 18 and over. The layout allows for complete visuals of all the premises. Of course, we're going to have the 24-hour surveillance cameras that will be monitored. And we will also have a limited product inventory, more of a boutique style, not having so much inventory on hand. And we will be doing our regular inventory audits, and we will be using the strict metric controls, which is required by the Department of Cannabis Control. The metric is the system that we are required to use that basically follows the product from seed all the way to sell. Moving on to slide 5, please. So that would be the odor mitigation. Part of our inventory management, which is the just-in-time inventory system, it will be to minimize the product exposure, which the less product, obviously, is going to minimize the odor. The product handling, everything is going to be sealed in storage, and immediate isolation of any broken items will be discarded accordingly as required by the state of California. There's a process of an entity or agency that comes and takes those products and disposes of them accordingly. We will also be doing air quality controls, which is the implementation of HEPA filters, carbon scrubbing, and enzymatic odor neutralizers. Although in retail spaces, the odor is very minimal because everything is packaged and there's no exposed product, we will still be taking the precautions because sometimes there is an odor, so we're just going to take that extra precaution and make sure that we have odor control. There will be a strict no on-site consumption. There will be absolutely no consumption on the facility whatsoever. The design of the facility is fully enclosed with interior doors maintained in a closed position. So all of that should also mitigate the odor. The next slide, please. So, sorry, I went a little too quick, my apologies. The lighting and security infrastructure, we will be having full cutoff LED fixtures designed to minimize glare and spillover. And we are committing to a 48-hour rapid repair commitment of broken fixtures. So if anything does break within, the goal and the commitment is to repair them within 48 hours.
And that's the lighting plan of to make sure that we don't have any light spillage to our neighbors.
Next slide, please. Okay, the security plan, we will have a 24/7 armed guard presence and vigilant on-site security, over 15 interior and exterior surveillance cameras, motion detectors, alarm systems, and panic buttons, a secure key card access to inventory and safe rooms, and a customer verification protocol and on-site patrols. So before a customer can enter into the facility, they will have to show identification, and then they will be allowed to enter the facility. Next slide, please.
That's the security camera plan.
Okay, you want to talk about
Yeah, this just shows the coverage of the security cameras in the interior. We're making sure that there's no blind spots at all in the facility.
All right, so for our onboarding and training, we will have a comprehensive training of metric compliance and responsible vending, theft, loss prevention, and emergency preparedness, security protocols and de-escalation techniques, sensitivity, health, and anti-discrimination workshops. And basically, we will be working very closely with the security company to ensure that all staff is properly trained on what to do in case of any emergency, so that we can assist any customer that's on site.
Additionally, part of our community outreach efforts, we conducted a canvassing program talking about the project on Eastern, and we knocked at over 600 doors in the 1,000-foot radius and collected 131 signatures of support for the project from residents within that 1,000-foot buffer. So I'd like to submit those for the record as well.
Mr. Aguirre, can you hand those to the city clerk or
Yes.
planning secretary?
Thank you. So in conclusion, we stand as a committed community partner, blending responsible business operations with proactive community engagement through strategic job creation, robust operational standards, and substantial financial contributions to local initiatives, as well as a direct community outreach. We strive to be a trusted and valued presence in Bell Gardens, and we are happy to answer any questions or concerns you may have.
Thank you very much. We will now move to the commissioners' questions or comments. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have quite a few, but I'll start with a few right now. As far as the positions, are they union positions?
We will be required to, after, I believe, 20 employees, the state requires that you enter into a labor peace agreement, and that's absolutely not an issue. We would be happy to do so.
Perfect. My other question is, do you plan on having a percentage of Bell Garden residents possibly to work there?
That would be the main goal. It's always, especially in this type of industry, having local hire, especially in the surrounding area, is always the best thing because they tend to have a better understanding of the community, what's important. So as the person who's going to be doing most of the hiring, I will absolutely be focused on hiring people from this area, just because it makes life easier because they know what's going on in the area. And the employee age range tends to be between the age of 21 and 28, so they're very up to date with the goings on.
Thank you. And then lastly, on security, you mentioned 24/7.
Yes.
And that's only going to be one security basically during the day, or is it going to be a multiple?
So it'll always be at least one, but during working hours, I am going to require two because I would like one at the front to always be checking ID. But if we're getting a delivery of product, I'm going to need one watching the delivery while the other person is doing their job in the front.
Thank you. That was my question, because you have a strict policy, right, on
Yeah.
people smoking on the premises.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
if one's inside, how would they know, right?
Yeah,
So
no, no,
they're-
no. That's
okay.
that's part of the thing. We need somebody who's going to be walking the facility, you know, the premises, but also just as I guess I'm a little bit extra, but normally I'm watching the cameras. You have 24-hour, you have surveillance access at all times. So just as I am 100% committed to tell you, I'm going to be constantly looking at that because it kind of gives you an idea of what's going on, and you have to pay attention to make sure the security guards are doing their job too.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Bowato, Paloma McAvoy from the City Attorney's Office, and also just to clarify, the conditions of approval do require one security personnel on site 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then currently our conditions of approval only require a second security personnel between the hours of 1 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Thank you.
Quick question on specifically those hours. The elementary school is right there. I'm surprised, honestly, that it's more than 500 feet. But the minimal day, what's the earliest that that school leaves?
Wednesdays at 1:30 or 1:15.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I believe our last applicant, Zen Garden, put forward additional community benefits as well. So guys, I would like to know if you guys are also willing to put forward anything else other than the required amount.
We absolutely are. We've already made some commitments with the Selacawanis Club, and to benefit the youth and families in Bell Gardens, that amount is for $5,000. We've also made another commitment to the Southeast Leadership Network, earmarked for arts programs and events in the city of Bell Gardens. We will be happy to provide the commitment letters from these organizations. We'll submit them for the record. But also, at the end of the day, you know, the city council and you yourselves as planning commissioners, you know, there's a lot of needs within the city. So we do not want to tie ourselves to be specific. This is what we are proposing and who we have made commitments to, and they have given us letters. But we also understand that there might be other needs from the community, so we are open to being able to help in other organizations as well. We just don't want to tie our hands because we don't know what kind of other help you guys might need. We've always kind of allowed for flexibility that if the help is needed in another aspect, that we'd be happy to do so. Because, you know, might be the Kiwanis Club, they're like, we're good this year, but can you help us help this organization? So that's the only reason we haven't tied our hands from that, but we are 100% committed to helping more than the 100,000 that's required.
Thank you. One more question. So, like the chairperson mentioned, the school is it's past the 600 feet, but it's, I believe it's 77 to be exact, from the location. So are there any plans in place for those hours that there are students passing by, or?
Well, absolutely. One of the things that we went as in the design, the building is very low-key. If you kind of look at it, I'm going to say it kind of looks like a Mac store. There's the signage is very simple. I've made recommendations that we don't use the cannabis leaf. I don't think we need to. Most brands don't do that anymore. And of course, there's going to, I'm sorry?
The fencing.
The fencing where it's enclosed, it's access only through the gate. And more importantly, there's going to be security there. But as we studied the area, they seem to use jaboneria more as they're going home, and at that age group, they tend to be picked up. But we will take all the necessary precautions to make sure that there's nothing inviting on the outside of the building to a young kid or anybody who's like, oh, look at what's there, and want to come in. That is absolutely the goal, to make sure that it's not enticing, that there's nothing that a young individual is going to look at and say, this is what this is, unless somebody takes the time to explain it to them.
Thank you.
Commissioner Barrera, Paloma McAvoy with the City Attorney's Office. Just to add on to the applicant's comments, the code does prohibit cannabis insignia, logos, that sort of advertising on the exterior of the building. So that's something that we ask of all of our applicants. And then in terms of the community benefits is similar to all of the other applicants you've seen, with the exception of Zen Garden. The other commitments that the applicant is discussing is separate and apart from the development agreement. So the city doesn't have any sort of enforcement power on that portion of it, just to add that clarification.
All right, thank you.
Great questions, Vice Chair. If I can follow up on a little bit of what you had mentioned, I think that because our aquatic center is being developed and we'd like to push it to thrive in a very significant way, I think that we kind of highlighted that is the interest of the community, and if you guys would be willing to commit to something in paper so that we can move forward with our vote, I think that would be significant. Also, I wanted to ask a question regarding the building. That building used to be like a party supply building at some point. So those are huge windows right there in the front, if I'm not mistaken. How are you going to retrofit the building so is it still going to have windows there? I don't think so, right?
Yeah, the windows are going to maintain, they're going to become slits instead of the big windows that you see now. Right, so that design will still have smaller kind of windows and slits on there.
So people walking by are going to be able to see into
No,
the building?
there'll be tint on them. It's just the glass with the tint so that so that it can be, I'm not sure what the city requirement is going to be in terms of.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the code actually prohibits tinted glass. Clear glass is fine. It's more of the aspect of advertising cannabis materials on. We understand that people are going to be passing by. So I think the desire of the city is to get rid of the tinted glass and the big insignias and the big logos, and I think more in line with what you're describing as a technology store or an Apple store.
Yeah, so we'll definitely fall in line with whatever city codes requires to do, but the big windows will be smaller windows, right? They won't be what you see now.
Okay.
So just to kind of give you a little visual.
Do you have an example
just
of that?
Just a vision.
It's on one of the.
Can we pull up that slide again?
Yeah.
If possible?
Just imagine the same big window, but with frames around it to make them smaller. But hopefully we'll see something soon.
Mona, do you have the slide? The rendering. Thank you.
And then one of the things to mention is that when individuals do walk by those windows, it's looking into the lobby, right, and not to the sales floor.
So just to reiterate, they will enter the lobby first, we'll check their credentials, and then from there they'll go into the retail space.
Okay, perfect.
But I don't think the renderings
Right there, yeah.
oh, okay, there we go. Oh, there.
So that green area.
There we go.
So that green area on the floor plan is the lobby, and the windows, are there in that lobby area.
And let the record reflect that those cannabis leaves will no longer be there.
Yeah.
And also to confirm the parking, right? So there's going to be only 3 spaces for parking?
Correct.
Yes, but we do
And
have
1 ADA, right? And then 16 bike.
Yeah, but we also have a mitigation for parking as well that we prepared for, and we do have a letter of support from Moras Towing, and
Okay.
they will be happy to provide us extra parking if needed.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question regarding access to the alley behind your site. Is there direct access to the alley?
It's gated. The facility will be gated. So yes, there is direct access. That's where having security guards on premises would, comes in. So if you look at the floor plan, the public alley's there. It's a one way in, one way out. It's the egress is through Eastern, and the ingress and then the egress through the public alley. So you wouldn't be able to drive through the alley into the facility.
Okay, would there be a security on both ends then, or just one on one
No,
side?
one security guard patrolling the exterior of the premises.
Okay,
It's not a huge lot, so the security guard will be able to patrol the premises.
thank you.
One more question. This might be directed more to staff, but I believe across the street there is a church. Have we confirmed if that's still currently there?
Churches are not included as a sensitive use, so even if there
Okay.
is an active church, it would
Yeah.
not be deemed a sensitive use. And what we noted as across the street was residential on the vacant lot from Eastern, directly. So if there is a church, it's not directly across the street.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. If I can make a little comment to my fellow commissioners, I feel like from what we're seeing presented to us tonight is the same concerns and things that we brought up for the previous applicant are aligned. And, we presented their concerns, and I feel like there was a gesture by, saying, hey, we're going to do this, this, and that, through supporting the community in a different way, more, slightly more monetary. And I feel like we've set a standard. And if do you guys think that this applicant is different because of the location, or because from what I can see is this school looks even closer than the high school? What do you guys think?
No, I agree. I think before we move forward, we should at least have something incorporated into the DA to, now that we started that standard, keep it going for all the applicants.
Yeah, I kind of agree too, because I heard Southeast Los Angeles Quantities Group, Southeast Leadership, no Bell Gardens, right?
Well, that's why,
It's all Bell Gardens.
yeah.
It's all going directly to Bell Garden, even
Correct.
though it's going to them, to that organization.
Right, well,
Lichtenstein?
yes,
Okay.
the letters that we have and the MOU that we will enter into agreement with them.
Okay.
Once we sign the development agreement, specifically states Bell Gardens events, Bell Gardens programming, arts programming, BG Arts. The MOU will have that information. The letters have specifically, for programming in the city of Bell Gardens.
Thank you for clarifying, because we don't have that information. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure it's coming to Bell Gardens,
Yeah,
not
and
to.
I'll submit those letters for the record as
Okay.
well.
So the project was deemed exempt from CEQA based on the common sense exemption and the existing facilities exemption. However, there's the entire additional traffic and the odors. So my question to the city and the applicant is, has there been an environmental study done for these things?
Not from our aspect.
So why was a focused environmental study not conducted instead of assuming there would be no impacts?
This is Paloma McAvoy with the City Attorney's Office. CEQA is kind of a unique animal that does not require a study every time a new project is being proposed. Typically, anytime you take an action that may result in what we call an environmental impact, there is some sort of CEQA analysis that's required. However, CEQA also builds in a number of exemptions. Two of them are before you today, one called the common sense exemption. And the reason why we're calling it a common sense exemption is our justifying that as one of the applicable exemptions is based on the fact that cannabis retail operations operate very similarly to other commercial operations in the sense that they are in smaller spaces. They are in your particular cannabis ordinance allows these operations to take place in industrial and commercial areas, just like your other commercial uses within the city. Folks come, they're subject to the same parking requirements, and folks tend to shop there for a short period of time, like other retail exemptions. The other exemption that we're relying upon is the existing facilities exemption. And the existing facilities exemption basically means somebody's coming in and they're performing tenant improvements on an existing building, and you're not proposing additional space or to enlarge the building. Those are the exemptions that we have relied upon almost exclusively for all of the applicants that we've permitted thus far.
Thank you.
So the way I have it understood is you have a total of like $10,000 pledged to the to those organizations.
15.
15, perfect. Okay.
And again, anything else that we don't want to limit ourselves to that 15,000. We want to be open to helping more. Those are just the letters of commitment that we have for now, and we'll be entering into a memorandum of understanding with them.
Perfect. I think from what we've done for the previous applicants, we'd like to move forward with these pledges through writing. We've moved in this direction, and I'd like to keep it going. Because you've done 15, I mean, would you be open to doing 10,000 annually for the academics, 8 for the sponsored and subsidized cost of sports youth, and 6,000 for aquatic centers as well? Is that something you'd be open to?
Chairperson will be happy to. That was part of what our suggestion is. But I would like you to take into consideration that not every applicant has had to include this under development agreement. This would cause another delay for us, and we would like to move forward as soon as possible. So if there's another way through resolution or signing something just so that we can move forward, because if we make these changes today, we're going to have to change the development agreement, and not every applicant has signed, so that's my only concern.
Paloma McAvoy with the City Attorney's Office. We can actually incorporate the changes into the dais today
Okay.
if that's the objection. Because what we have is a template from the last applicant. So it is helpful when staff knows these things in advance, because we're able to incorporate it from the dais.
Absolutely, thank you. Yes, and we will happily, we can move most of the money, if you want, to that other program. We want to make sure it's going to the right things. So if the aquatic center and those things that you mentioned are more of a priority, we're happy. We're happy to put those $10,000 into that. We'll keep the $5,000 for the Kiwanis Club, because they deal with the youth and they're already working on some stuff. But those $10,000 to the aquatic center, more than happy to do so.
Commissioners, is this?
I guess what I was going to say, the reason why this came up with the last applicant, because of proximity to the school, which is, in this case, is the same thing.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
we do that. I know you mentioned the other ones,
Yeah.
but they weren't that close to a school
No,
like
and-
the last one, and that's why we're saying this.
It's
And they were
regardless,
pretty
it's the right
generous
thing.
as far as what they
Yeah.
what they gave us, and even myself. I'm a research consultant for probably one of the biggest healthcare organizations, and I'll tell you right now, I'm probably the only Latino there. So we need programs like this in cities, right? So we get individuals.
It's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
We support that, and we stand behind that. I mean, at the end of the day, you guys are giving us the privilege and the opportunity to come do business in this community, and the right thing to do is be a good business partner and help the important programs.
And we're also 100% minority owned.
Okay,
Every single partner is
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And they're from the community. You know, I grew up in Southgate.
I'm from Linwood, sorry.
My other partner is from Bell Gardens.
But my tia's here.
Yeah. So 100% minority owned and locally owned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Any other comments or questions?
Question for the commissioners, actually. Is that going to be the policy of the commission of voting according to how much money they apportion to the city itself, rather than the immediate impact?
Good question. In this case, I just thought that it was appropriate because we did that for the exact same reasons for the previous applicant, and we approved it. But I don't think it's necessarily that, monetary wise, just gestures that suggest that they want to commit to the community rather than just, you know, serve them this product and, you know, we'll go from, who knows where it goes from there, right? Like, people walk by, this is all really kind of new, right, to our community. We've never had stores like this. And now they're saying that we have to have 7 minimum, right? Or not have to, but we can't have that. And it seems that they're pushing those 7, but without an option, and we have to now navigate these waters in that way.
So we wait and see.
I think so. Any other comments?
Well, I was just gonna say, obviously, I think we all have our personal beliefs, right, regarding this. I'm just following what the city council instructed, right, and got approved at the end of the day. And then for us here as a commission, we're just going over the presentation, what they're providing, if they're following the guidelines, the recommendations that basically the planning department made, and city attorney. That's what I'm going based on, just on facts, right? Facts and research as well. And obviously, we had a delay with the other ones because we did our due diligence here, as far as the foot traffic for students, right? That was the delay for that one. So I think it's a case-by-case situation. At least that's my opinion.
If it's helpful for the planning commission, I can go over the changes that happened from when Zen Garden first came to approval tonight. You did shorten the hours by 1 hour for business to close by 9 p.m. You added the requirement for a security guard to be on site 24 hours, 7 days a week, as well as a second security personnel on weekdays from 1 to 5 p.m. The security provisions are already included in the conditions of approval. Their hours of operation are still till 10 p.m., so that is something that's a little different than from Zen Garden. And in addition, you added the youth-specific benefit fees to the development agreement, and that was inclusive of $25,000 for academic scholarships for the youth residents, $8,000 for youth sports programming, as well as a $6,000 contribution to the aquatic center. And those contributions that go into the development agreement would be annual.
And if I may, just to add to that, like for the last applicant, right? The biggest thing to me was security, obviously, right? And they came back, and I was kind of pleased what they provided, 24/7 additional security. And also, at the end of the day, the hours, right? That was key, that they were willing to work with us and make those changes. And as an added bonus, obviously, they threw in all that dollar amount for all these different programs. But for me, that was the key things.
I'm wondering if my fellow commissioners are in agreement to kind of replicate the same stipulations to the previous applicant. Is that the concern here? And if that's the case, is the wording that has been applied to the previous applicant applicable for this? Like, is this right now in writing as well, or is that something we have to discuss to also impose on this applicant?
That's,
Are we, if I may, are we talking about what Ms. McAvoy just read, which were the changes, and you're asking to clarify, are we sure those are what we want on this one? Okay, that's a good question.
If you don't mind, Commissioner, I wouldn't mind you elaborating what your concern is regarding the, I suppose the gestures that we asked for in regards to like the investment in the community, right? Because I think you have a valid point. So if you don't mind, I'd like for you to elaborate a little bit.
I think Commissioner Monroy kind of touched a little bit upon that. This commission may become very predictable, so whoever comes in, they'll know what we want.
That's a great point. It's a great point. I think that as we sit here meeting after meeting, we'll learn how to approach and what our limits to the positions are. I mean, we're not here really to demand anything. We're here to suggest, and to suggest and present things to the council, right? So I think like you kind of say yes or no, or we can work with them to try to see if we can have the community benefit in a just slightly more positive way. But the presentation's here, and the parameters are set, and so I think that like when we come down to the what's the reasoning for saying no, right? Do we have one at this moment? Stuff like that are the things that I think about. And when they're not within a certain radius, then what do we have after that?
Just to add to that, right, based on this whole experience, so you know, Commissioner, it's been case by case, even with the first one we had, right? They came back multiple times. So I don't think they expect, it's always different. It all depends where they're placed at, what they present to us. So to me is case by case. That's how I'm taking it.
If I may add, and as Commissioner Boato said, there's only one project before you, so it has to be case by case in that sense.
Yeah, just to comment on that, and then, Commissioner, your comments are valid, but I think at the end of the day, when we come with the information presented, we see that staff worked to make sure that the requirements are fulfilled. Anything else after just becomes additional benefit for the community. So it's not, I guess when we're voting, it's less taking away the personal beliefs and more of what we're presented, just a follow within the city's general plan. And if it does, then we know what more could we do to benefit the city.
Any other questions or comments? We will now open the public comments for this item. Secretary, please announce the instructions for public participation. Apologize. Thank you for your presentation and your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on the public hearing item number 5.3. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the members of the Planning Commission. Each speaker and written comments are limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone. When instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through the Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom and select the unmute or the microphone icon when instructed. We will begin to hear from members of the public that are physically present in the council chamber. If you haven't done so already, please submit all comment cards now.
You could submit it after your testimony. Thank you.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Mario Beltran. I am a 30-year resident of Bell Gardens, former Planning Commissioner, former council member. My son attends Bell Gardens Elementary School, which is around this project. My recommendation as a resident, as a local business owner, as a father raising a kid that attends that school, is for you to treat all applicants the same. I believe that what we would like to see are, this new industry compete with each other. Whoever offers the best service, best prices, best quality on products for those, eligible adults that choose to use this product, then they do so in a safe, legal manner, not like the illegal dispensary that the city tolerates and still, it's in business next to Bionico Zapopan, which my son, who I take to buy, the apple covering chamoy after school, pointed out to me because I was so distracted that I didn't realize there's an illegal dispensary next to it. My son was able to see it, 10-year-old student from BGE. Hey, what are they selling there? So you have illegal cannabis sales taking place as we speak. This legal market that you're regulating, that you're creating, should be treated as any other business. My opinion is impose the same requirements on all of them, because if you impose new requirements in the latest companies that you're getting, essentially you're creating an uneven playing field. So to me, again, from my perspective as a resident and local business owner, that's not the best way for businesses to compete with each other. I know it's a very complex subject. I know you've done a very, thorough and responsible research and work as you make difficult decisions. But I hope that you treat them the same, all of them, whoever you choose to allow to come and do business in your city. Thank you for your time, and thank you for, volunteering and stepping up to do this job. Thank you.
You have anybody else?
Commissioner, I will go ahead and see if there's anyone on the chat line that would like to speak on this item. If there is anyone on the chat line, go ahead and press *6 to unmute yourself if you would like to speak on this item. Chairperson, it looks like we do not have anyone on the chat line who wants to speak on this item. For the record, no written comments were submitted.
Thank you very much. If there are no objections by the Planning Commission, I will close public participation. If there are no additional questions or comments by the Planning Commission, I will close public hearing at 6:41 p.m. After the presentation and discussion, may I have a motion to approve staff's recommendations as noted in the staff report? Perfect.
So if the changes that Ms. McAvoy listed, if you'd like the motion to include those changes, I don't think Ms. McAvoy needs to repeat them. You can just say the ones stated earlier by Ms. McAvoy. Would that?
I'd like to read them into the
Okay.
record just so that we're very clear.
Okay.
And I just, there were a few different numbers being thrown around. If we could get some clarification on the numbers, that way I could read it into the record correctly, that would be helpful.
Perfect, thank you.
Did you need us to commit to the number?
Did you, Chairperson, did you want to call the applicant back up and
Sure.
ask
Can
for
we
some
have
clarification?
them kind of be, yeah, give us some clarification as to the numbers. I know that the previous applicant
So
did
we will commit to
25.
25,000 to the specific recommendations that you made, sir. I remember the aquatic center being one, sports programs, but forgive me, I don't remember the exact words. But we will
It
commit to
was-
25,000 exactly to be used as you recommended.
It was, I believe, 25 towards the scholarships. It was 8 to youth programs, and it was 6,000 to aquatics. We know that you already pledged 15,000, so the compromise was going to be, essentially, we still want to make a push for aquatic programs because, it's very important for our community. So sure, we can deduct 15 from probably the scholarship one.
So, for everybody's edification, presumably the recommendation would be to recommend the approval of the development agreement with a $25,000 commitment to the City Aquatic Center?
It's really, it's up to the commission.
I think he meant 10,000 for the school scholarship, and then the remainder, right? 8 to the to sports, and then 6 to the aquatic center. Or did I get those switched?
No, that's correct.
Does that sound?
Thank you, that's helpful.
As we're discussing, Commissioner Monroy, how do you think about the language that we're using and the standard that we're setting? I'd like to hear a little bit of what you think we're setting a standard for it today.
I understand Commissioner Preciado's concerns. I can see how setting a precedent can become, I don't know. I'm sorry, what was the word again? Where you described it as
Predictable.
predictable. However, that also comes with setting a standard as, I don't know, like as uniform as possible, as unbiased as possible. So I can see both sides. However, I'm a little confused for the total sum of these additional benefits outside of the 100,000 for the community benefit, the annual community benefit account. Would this be 25 total? Can we just clarify that?
No, I believe that the applicant said that they had already pledged 15. We don't have that in our writing, but I believe that they submitted paperwork that said that they did pledge 15.
Yes, that's what they represented. Legal hasn't reviewed it, but they did submit something into the record.
Sure. And then they would be, so that's 15, and the 10 for as scholarships or whatever the commissioners think that is appropriate, and then youth program, and then the 6,000 for the aquatic.
Okay.
Yes, my question, and that would be, they already pledged 15,000, but does that mean we have to deduct from any current, that was already set by the previous applicant?
Great question. I do think that there's a level, we would want to be equal with each applicant, right? I wouldn't want to put too much strain, if that makes sense, on anyone. What do you guys think?
I just want to know, what is it that we as commissioners deem too close in proximity to certain schools or sensitive use sites? Because the number in distance from this site to the Bell Gardens Elementary School is not the exact number as the other applicants to Bell Gardens High School. So up until what number are we in agreement that that's still too close?
That's a great question. I'm open to hear what you guys think. I looked at the map, and they're literally around the corner. The only exit out of that school is left or right or straight, and you're gonna cross it, right? The high school was pretty much in the same kind of space. I don't know the exact numbers at this time, but from when I looked at the map, I was like, whoa. Have you guys taken a minute and looked at exactly where it's at?
I actually live right across Bell Gardens Elementary. That may be a little too much sensitive information, but there is now a new opening or a new entrance or drop-off entrance, something of the sort, to the school. I'm not sure if it's already in use. I don't have children of my own who attend the school, but I think, to me, my concern is, if we're gonna look at a map and we're gonna just, the blind eye, for lack of a better word, we're gonna think, oh, I see a school in the map, that's already too close to me. Using too close is still too vague of a term. I wanna know, is 300 feet kind of the perimeter we're gonna give it as? It's still a sensitive, a sensitive site that is too close to this kind of a shop. Am I clear?
No, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
It makes sense, and I'll give you my logic behind
Okay.
the other one, right? For me, the other one, because I know the high school, and I know that's a place where kids hang out around there. You have Troy's and all that, right? So for me, there's a lot of foot traffic. As far as Bell Gardens Elementary, I'll be honest with you, I don't know where the students go or where they walk, the families. I know it's kind of close by seeing the pictures, but I don't have access to that as far as the distance. But to me, if a school's pretty close by, I kind of feel like on edge, basically because of families and kids and being exposed. But another thing too, that's part of this whole process, right? There is no display of anything, so they don't know it's a dispensary, right, at the end of the day. So that's key as well to consider, because there's no logos, no nothing. I mean, unless they know when they talk to friends or whoever, they'll know it's a dispensary.
Yeah, if I may, John Ramirez, Interim Community Development Director. If Mona can put up the slide that shows what the allocation was for the prior cannabis use, just for reference. And for clarification, a few things just to consider. the location meets the distance requirements from all the sensitive uses per the ordinance. However, that doesn't mean that the commission as a body or a commissioner as an individual has to vote for the project. So it's definitely within the, the conscience of the particular commissioner. If they don't agree with the location or they think it's too close, it's perfectly under their ability to either vote against the project as an individual commissioner and/or make an alternative motion or substitute motion in the event that the motion that's initially provided isn't satisfactory to them. So I just want to make sure that, sometimes the friction of different opinions yields the best result. And so it's definitely something that, if you feel strongly about as a commissioner, as an individual, you can vote your own way. But I thought it would be better to bring this up for reference. So, because when we start talking about the numbers, I get confused. So bear with me. I'm a little older than most of you, so it might be age. But I thought this would be a good reference for conversation aside from, if you believe the use is too close, which, that's completely understandable. But if this helps, Chair, for framing some of the conversation, hopefully, I'll be quiet now and let you jump in if you wanted to take a look and have the conversation with your fellow commissioners.
No, thank you very much for that. I think for a moment we kind of forget that there's an option to say, we don't agree with that location, right? So because it set the standard doesn't mean that this is exactly the same thing, and that's a great point. So yeah, let me know.
And it might be an opportunity to ask the applicant what is their take on these numbers for these items at this point.
Again, we are committed to $25,000, but instead of what we had proposed, we would like to take the recommendation. You guys can decide whether it's the aquatic center, scholarships, but $25,000 is the amount that we would like to commit to in writing. And with, except for we will continue to work with the two entities that we stated to in the letter.
You could do 5, you could do 5, 10, and 10.
Yeah. So you guys can determine how.
Make it easy.
So then the idea might be, again, John Ramirez, Interim Community Development Director, $5,000 for the annual contribution for academic scholarship for Bell Gardens High graduates, and then $10,000 for annual contribution to sponsor or subsidize the cost of youth sports, and then $10,000 for the annual contribution to the Bell Gardens Aquatic Center to subsidize cost of swimming lessons or similar programming for Bell Gardens youth. So I think that's I'm going to call it the offer on the table.
Yeah,
if that's
but again,
okay.
if you guys want to change those,
Sure.
just
Thank
know
you.
you have 25,000.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, if we were to take away these, contributions just off the table, we just remove them, what is your opinion on the matter? Where do you guys think it's security's too standard? Do you guys think the location is appropriate? I'd like to have a discussion based off of that rather than the numbers. The numbers are, are meaningless if this doesn't get established, right?
Kind of what I mentioned before, to me, for the previous one, the biggest concern was security, obviously, and the hours. As far as when students are, they get out of school or if they get out early, they tend to hang out in those areas, right? So that was my concern. First of all, security. And I think they addressed my concerns, right? And like I mentioned before, obviously they're the ones that mentioned we could donate to all these programs. It came from them. Right. We didn't force them. And to me, and I'm being biased because I donate money myself, right? I'm big on research, big on paying for students to take flights when they take their medical exams. That comes out of my pocket. That's something I love to do. So for me, I don't care. I love to donate. So when they said that, to me, it's kind of, obviously I'm not making my decision off of that, right? But to me, that speaks volume, right? If they're willing to do that for our community, because it's something I believe in too.
That's a great point. I think that's exactly it. The gesture that suggests that you want to commit something to the student, right? To the, when's the last time we had an aquatic center where the youth's gonna learn how to swim, right? All these things, and I think it's meaningful to the community, and that spoke volumes. And I'd want to see that type of commitment.
And just to mention, right, the aquatic center, I'm going to date myself too here, but what I recall when I went to high school, Bell Gardens High School, we had a lot of great swimmers that came from Commerce, and some are Olympic swimmers. So I think about that, the potential that we have here for our residents.
Yeah, exactly. But commissioners, I'd like to hear, because I think that maybe we're not discussing a certain approach or a certain. I really just want to hear any kind of hesitation towards moving forward with this, if any.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna reiterate what I wanted to know from you guys, my fellow commissioners, because I understand that there should be, if I'm not mistaken, 600 feet away from daycare, youth centers, schools, and parks, and 500 feet from other cannabis uses. Referring to the previous applicant, they were 897 feet away from Bell Gardens High School and about 800 feet away from Cesar Chavez Elementary. And this applicant is 777 feet away from Bell Gardens Elementary. Am I correct? Are these numbers correct? Can we confirm that? Okay. So because of that, I wanted to know, again, what is the definition we are gonna put on too close to a school? Similar to you all, I'm trying to do my due diligence. I would like to think I'd like to approve, not approve, or abstain from voting based on my most unbiased but educated, thought process. And because of that, I want to know what you all deem is too close. So is, up to 800 feet to me is too close to the school still. Up to 900 feet is still close to the school. What is that number that we're going to give too close?
I think that's a great question. If I may just ask a question, maybe to staff or legal, would us saying, hey, X number even be appropriate? Because it's not, if it falls outside of the 500 feet, then are we setting us up for failure in that regard?
Right. Well, you're not binding yourself for any future project. So if you want to just say an opinion, hey, 900 feet sounds too close to me, you're allowed to say that, but it won't bind you. You're not going to vote on a rule that will bind you for future cases. You're not going to vote on that.
Perfect. Thank you.
But your opinions, you're allowed to say.
Yeah, and if I may, just to your question, it really depends on the project location. So you're not compelled to make a decision that too close always means 10 feet, 100 feet, 150 feet. Because by nature of the entitlement process, the decisions that come before you, they're discretionary by nature, and therefore they're case by case. So there may be instances where too close might be 200 feet for one type of land use, and then too close might be, or for one location, and then 300 feet might be too close in another location, just based on the nature of the land use patterns around that proposed project. So there was a mention on the VIP project for the banquet hall about a senior facility being close. So that's kind of an example. It may not have been, 300 feet or 500 feet, and maybe it was. I'm not familiar with that particular land use, but it might have been across the street. But I think there was a feeling by one of the commissioners that that's kind of close. Hey, what about noise? So those are the kinds of things that sort of organically occur, and it's part of the reason why each of you are up here as commissioners to support the community. So it's a great conversation. I'm trying to provide clarity so that you don't feel like you have to, if whatever decision you make for what too close means, that doesn't mean it's going to be every time that you have to do that. I don't want, just adding to what the city attorney mentioned. So I want you to have some comfort with the flexibility that you have in making your decisions, because it is case by case. So, and the development agreement provisions allow you to take that stand and add additional opportunities for community benefits in this case, so.
If I may, that's the key. The last sentence that John said was, this is a development agreement. That gives you a lot of freedom to negotiate. So that's what we're talking about here, is negotiating the community benefits. We're not talking about legislating a distance. That's already in the zoning code. Zoning code says how many feet to a sensitive use. So you're not making a new rule about that. But if you're motivated by something that involves a fact, that involves distance, that can be part of your negotiation.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and you already said that, they're all different, right? When we spoke about the high school, they'll know exactly what that building is. These kids won't. But that doesn't mean they don't have to have equal, maybe, or more benefits. Like, this is just negotiating benefits for the community. Can we negotiate anything else? Like, can we help them at all? Will this establishment being there help the community? No. This is what we're discussing now, right?
Do any other commissioners have other reservations that we haven't discussed yet?
No, I wouldn't, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think for me, the only one, again, we're in this phase where we're negotiating. It would be, I believe the applicant already committed to the 15,000 on top of you mentioned the 15,000 previously? Yeah. So that's 25 including the 15?
No, we're going to go ahead and disregard what we proposed and follow the recommendation instead. But we're upping it from 15,000 to 25,000 to be used, as was described. I believe we said 10.
5, 10, and 10.
Yes.
Wouldn't equal contribution be 25,860? And that's the standard, right, that we proposed? If you take away what you've already pledged to the other organizations.
We're not going to include it in there. That's something separate that we're going to do regardless. But in writing and commitment with you guys is $25,000. We've already submitted our letters of our understanding with those other entities, but we will commit $25,000 total as indicated, 5, 10, and 10.
Okay, thank you.
I guess, so 25,000, I know for the previous applicant, we had that 8 and 6,000 as well. So is 25 all that you guys are pledging to do?
25,000 is what we are committing to as part of the development agreement. The other agreements that we have, we will deal with those separately as per our agreement in writing with them.
Yeah, so if you look at this slide, they're proposing number 1, 5,000, number 2, 10,000, and number 3, 10,000. So, and just to clarify, as the commission, you have a couple of options. The city attorneys can kick me under the table if I misspeak, but you can, there can be a motion to approve the project as it came to you in your packet. You can make a motion to approve the project per the slide, consistent with the previous development agreement, the 25, 8, and 6. You could do that. You could make a motion to approve it based on the applicant's proposal with different dollar amounts. You can make a motion to continue the item to future planning commission meeting, either specified or unspecified. So you have a lot of options, and so I think that that's one of the great things about being in this position is you're not painted into a corner for one item. So it's at the pleasure of the commission to make the motion, and then if there's a second, move that motion forward. But those are kind of the 4 big options you have right now.
I do want to just say a comment to Commissioner Monroy, because you asked the question. You wanted a number, right? And I'll tell you my number, 800 for me, right? But for me, it's a case by case, obviously, right? obviously with the situation with the last one, they came back, we made suggestions, and they came back with the security, right? So I felt comfortable with that. So that's my personal opinion, right? At the end of the day, we're a tiny city as well, right? So there's schools all over, right? But that's where I feel comfortable, even though 500 is the limit, but for me, that's 800. But if we have discussions with them, right, and they're willing to listen to us with the recommendations, and they abide for that, I'm comfortable with my decision.
Thank you for your comment. Yeah, come to add to it. I have small children. I won't say where they go to school, but you know, I have to be objective about this, and this is my attempt at that. I think that's a great number, 800. Now, this is closer than that, and the community is benefiting less than the previous. If I was to move forward, I'd want to propose that we move forward, but with the same conditions as the previous applicant. That would be my motion if I was to motion that. Where do you guys stand with your opinion on this matter?
Chairperson, I think, so if we do want to hold everybody to the same standard, I do believe that we should do that and keep the same as the last applicant that we had, the same numbers.
And just keep in mind, this will also be going, you're making a recommendation to the city council. So if the applicant doesn't care for your decision, they can take it up with the council as well, so.
Yeah, perfect, thank you very much. I mean, I do want to hear, like, kind of your approach, where you stand, so we can kind of just all move forward with this. Do you have a number, do you think?
I don't. Frankly, when I was asking, it was because I agree. Every applicant is, in fact, you know, subjective to the area, what it is will contribute, and not in monetary, you know, donation or funds, rather, but just through all criteria and matters. But I was just wondering if there really, truly was a number you guys had in mind, or, you know, up to your discretion. So I do appreciate you having mentioned that. I think that any, you know, monetary funds after what's already expected from the applicant, the 100,000 that are mandatory, is almost like it all in good faith. So I wouldn't like to think that because this number, this sum of 25,000 in comparison to the other applicants, 33, is that the right number? I'm not sure. I'm sorry?
39,000.
39. Not because we're a few thousand shy from that same number doesn't mean that we'll completely disregard this applicant's, you know, want to, you know, to contribute. So I think I'll help, and good faith is good help. So because of that, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to move forward and vote. Are there reasons as to why we'd like to increase the number similar to the previous applicants? As to why the 25 total that this applicant has already given us is not enough? Is there a reason?
No, that's a great point you made.
I give you my reasons as far as what I feel is fair. Like I said, with the last applicant, they're the ones that came up with those amounts, right? We didn't dictate that at all. So it's only fair to me, right? They already said 25,000. I'm good with that, but I mean, obviously I want them to participate more in the community, and hopefully they can bump those numbers. And in good faith, kind of what you mentioned, Commissioner Monroy, because I really don't want to put a number on that either. And yes, it's not the expectations, obviously, that we have, but for me, it's more it has to come from them, right? Mm-hmm. And if it comes from them, that speaks volumes, right? They committed to 25,000 and said possibly more, then I'll take their word for it.
Perfect. I agree with you. I think you persuaded me. If I could just get a little bit of clarification, your pledges, is that an annual thing, what you've established already?
Yes, so separate to the 100,000 that's required, the 25,000.
No, regarding,
Sorry. Oh, my apologies.
no, not the 25 for the city, but the,
Yes, the 25,000 is annually, but I also want to, hopefully you guys can take into consideration, we are going to have a specific community liaison on the team that's going to be civically engaged, participating, and through that aspect, there's probably going to be other contributions if there's involvement in a community event where, you know, so toy drives and different things. We are 100% committed to be completely engaged in the community. So it won't just be with those 25,000, it won't just be with the 100,000 that's required. We will have a community liaison locally hired to work on all those events and participate, whether it's sponsorship with toy giveaways, sometimes food, just the different things that sometimes are that come up. There's always an organization, there's always someone that needs help. But that will be separate to us committing to in writing and 25,000 as being requested today.
and would that person be a resident?
That's the goal. If I could find someone here that'd be willing to do the job, that would be great, because the best community liaison is going to be an actual resident.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve staff's recommendations as noted in the staff report, or with the added of the $25,000 and the verbiage that we have?
And just for clarification, would that be the 5, 10, and 10?
Correct.
Once I get that motion, I can read it into the record.
Commissioners, may I get a motion?
Just for clarification here, those numbers are locked in year by year regardless of business profitability.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Can I get a second for the motion of approving staff's recommendation with the added verbiage for the additional funds of 25, of 5, 10, 10? Can I get a second?
I second that motion.
And for the record, the added verbiage that would be added to the development agreements would be added to section 4.2 of the development agreement, new subsection D. Bear with me. Annual community benefit specific fees. Developer shall make the following payments to the city as annual youth specific benefit fees. The first payment shall be made prior to the issuance of a project building permit for the purposes of this section. Building permit shall have the same definition as BGMC section 9.20.160 subsection D. Each following calendar year, the developer shall make further payments to the city in the same amount specified below, no later than January 15th of each subsequent calendar year. $5,000 for the city for the purpose of funding academic scholarships for the city's youth residents, city's youth residents. $10,000 to the city's Recreation and Community Services Department to fund youth sports programming. $10,000 to the city's Recreation and Community Services Department for the purpose of subsidizing the cost of youth swimming lessons and other youth programming costs at the John Anson Ford Park Regional Aquatic Center. If the aquatic center is not in operation, such funds may be used to fund youth sports programming. That's the end of the language.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Finance Secretary, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Commissioner Boado?
Yes.
Commissioner Monroy?
Yes.
Commissioner Preciado?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Barrera?
No.
Chairperson Ramirez?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations. And thank you for your gesture of good faith towards our community. If there are no objections by the Planning Commission, I would close public participation for agendized items. We will now move to the consent calendar. Oh, I do? Oh, I apologize. Public comment is now open for items listed on the Planning Commission agenda. Secretary, please announce the instructions for public participation.
The members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on agenda items. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the members of the Planning Commission. Each speaker and written comments are limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone. When instructed to dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom app may request to make a comment by using raise hand feature on Zoom and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will begin to hear from the members of the public that are physically present in the council chambers. If you haven't done so already, please submit all comment cards now. Chairperson, it looks like there is no one in the council chambers that wants to speak on agenda items. I will go ahead and see if there's anyone on the chat line that would like to speak on agenda items. If there's anyone on the chat line, go ahead and press *6 to unmute yourself if you would like to speak on agenda items. Chairperson, it looks like we do not have anyone on the chat line who wants to speak on agenda items, and for the record, no written comments were submitted.
Thank you very much. There's no objection to the Planning Commission. I will close public participation for agendized items. We will now move to the consent calendar.
Can you please state the time?
7:16 p.m.
Thank you.
Do any of the members of the Planning Commission wish to pull an item for separate discussion? Nope. May I have a motion to approve item number 7.1 on the consent calendar? Please, just minutes. Are these just minutes? Perfect. Yeah, can I get a motion to approve item number 7.1 on the consent calendar?
I'm sorry, I move to approve.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second that.
Thank you very much. Planning Secretary, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Commissioner Boado,
Yes.
Commissioner Monroy,
Yes.
Commissioner Preciado,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Barrera,
Yes.
Chairperson Ramirez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public comment is now open for items not listed on the Planning Commission agenda. Secretary, please announce the instructions for public participation.
Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items not listed on the Planning Commission agenda. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker and written comments are limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone. When instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. Chairperson, it looks like there is no one on the council chambers that wants to speak on non-agenda items. I will go ahead and see if there is anyone on the chat line that would like to speak on non-agenda items. If there is anyone on the chat line, go ahead and press *6 to unmute yourself if you would like to speak on non-agenda items. Chairperson, it looks like we do not have anyone on the chat line who wants to speak on non-agenda items, and for the record, no written comments were submitted.
Thank you very much. If there are no objections by the Planning Commission, I will close public comments for non-agenda items. We will move with staff comments at this time. Oh, 7:19 p.m.
No staff comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner comments at this time? I know that this was one of our first real ones where we kind of couldn't read our minds, right? We needed to voice up more, I feel, today. And I think we did. I think we did. You know, I want you guys to all know that, like, we really want me to hear what you guys think. Like, I know sometimes we have like a filter and have to kind of think about it a little longer, but, you know, I really want you guys to know that, you know, like I was staying strong with my chair, vice chair over here on the number right now. We wanted that, but then I was convinced that the gesture was really what meant, right? And if they were willing to say that number, then okay, that's what it is, right? I'm gonna force you on it. I do think that there's a standard and they always set the norm, but I also think that certain things come into play, right? Like these are all very different locations, but they're still in our community. So we still have to look out for our residents, right? So, you know, all of these things come into play when I think about these. But at the end of the day, I just, you guys are my neighbors. So I really need to know what you think as well.
I just to add to that as well, I mean, I'm proud every time we all meet because we could have dialogue, right, and be respectful with each other, even though we could disagree. But at the end of the day, I think we all want the same thing, right? At the end of the day, it could be a little different, but yeah, we could have those dialogues, and I admire all of you for doing that. We could speak our mind. We're still good with each other at the end of the day, but yeah, we're here for the residents, and just to acknowledge to the city planner. I know it's been tough, so thank you. Appreciate you. 2 attorneys here as well, putting up with us and giving us guidance. Lily, thank you for everything you do. And then we have a visitor, Councilwoman Guillen. Thank you for being here as well. And obviously, those that were here, and they're gone. It was a long meeting. And then thank you to Mr. Ramirez, our interim director, also for guiding us as well. So thank you. This is all new to us. It's a new process as well. So we do need that guidance quite often. So thanks.
Absolutely.
I
Well
think.
said. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I think in summary for the last item, whether it was the amount of feed or the amount of funds, we can all agree that everything is very subjective to each and every applicant. And similar to Commissioner Ramirez, Chair Ramirez, I agree. I enjoy the dialogue and discussion, whether we agree or disagree, because we know it's never with ill intention. It is to come to a consensus for the good of the community. And I just want to apologize as well to everyone for my tardiness. Did not foresee that much traffic today, but thank you all for being so kind and holding up just a tiny more for me.
Of course. Any other comments or anything at all? Perfect. And thank you, staff, for tonight. If there are no objections by the members, I will now adjourn the regular Planning Commission meeting at 7:22 p.m.